Thank you for listening to The Freddie O Show, a podcast devoted to you, the listener, your purpose, your mindset, and your marketing efforts, designed to help you go to that next level. Now here's your host, Freddie O.
Super excited to bring Roman Prokopchuk on board today. Roman, welcome to The Freddie O Show.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
So let's get this party started. Who is Roman and what makes you tick?
Yep. So I am a first-generation immigrant from Ukraine. Came over when I was 5 with 6 other family members in 1990. Ukraine was still under the Soviet Union. I went to school here, went to Rutgers University for criminal justice, interned with the Secret Service, thought I was going that route. But then I graduated like literally a month before that 2008 recession hit. So state, local, federal agencies froze hiring. And I basically, out of necessity, stumbled into digital marketing. And mainly the pillar of introducing me to the industry was SEO through a gym encounter with somebody, striking up a conversation. And they basically said, come out to my car. I want to give you something after your workout, which obviously could have went several ways. And I did that. And they opened up their trunk, handed me a packet about search engine optimization, and basically said, read this, go online, read up on it, and you can do it for my business. And that was, going on 13 years. I've held several director roles on the agency side, managed 7-figure portfolios, Fortune 500 clients, and in 2012, founded my own agency. And at that time, back in the day, I saw the evolution of the internet. So I knew search engine optimization was one component, but really how content strategy, how online reputation management, local search, if it's brick and mortar, and paid search and other things tie into it as well.
Awesome. So you have a dog, and I actually have 3 dogs. What kind of dog do you have?
Yeah, they're usually quiet, but
that's okay. No. You know what? We're real here on the Freddie O Show. We have dogs. Sometimes we have kids that run around, and it's all good because that's who we are. We're real. But no, that's awesome. So when you talk about, we're going to dive into SEO in a second. SEO. But let's talk about you personally. When did you first discover that you obviously wanted to be an entrepreneur? Have you always been an entrepreneur at heart? Or like you said, you're going to go into the Secret Service, you said, right?
Yep. So, I think coming from like a Eastern European background from a former communist country, if you see a lot of unicorn companies, big tech companies, and so on and so forth, a lot of the founders are from Eastern Europe. So I believe like there's a certain grit from somebody that comes to the United States from that kind of experience of, the area that they came from, whether it's communism, war, famine, religious persecution, whatever reason that you come over here. So I think one of those things, like back in the day, I would, flip candy in school, which I guess I got detention at some point for, have my mom go to like Costco or Sam's Club or BJ's, get me a thing of candy for whatever unit price was, maybe 25 cents. I would sell it $1 a piece, and little ventures like that in terms of like making money. So I think at heart, I was always driven to kind of excel and really be outside of the box and really kind of drive my own destiny.
Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur, and it's definitely, I agree with you, because I was the same way back in the day. You find little things, you start selling them, then you go to eBay and start selling on eBay, and then it's just that good feeling of, wow, I can actually turn a profit on doing something I actually enjoy doing. So did you run into any roadblocks when you first started to going from the Secret Service, switching gears and starting in the digital online world? Did you run into any roadblocks that you were like, wow, that was just like, I almost gave up, but I didn't?
Yeah, I guess the first experience I had, so working for that person, which I think I've only shared the story on like 3 or 4 interviews. So basically they were going to compensate me for my time there and doing that work, but the person's cat got cancer and he dropped $20,000 on the cat. So the compensation that I was, supposed to receive for that initial digital marketing project and working with, his company for a few months, it never came. But that foot in the door in that experience was far more valuable than those few $1,000s, maybe not at the time because obviously I was angry about it, but it was also a business lesson in terms of like doing business not only on a handshake, and just because you're friends doesn't mean that necessarily carries over into a business relationship and lessons like that. So I think that was the starting point. And, a week or two after that, I got picked up as a contractor by a company called LexisNexis, which then I got brought on full time in the legal industry, where I worked with small, medium, and large size law firms all over the country. Eventually had their elite portfolios, clients that spent $100,000 a year or more. And that was kind of learning under pressure. Yes, there were challenges in those roles initially, but I think knowledge far kind of transcends kind of a learning. So if you read something from a book, it's one thing. If you have real world experience, it's another. I've talked about this a few times in terms of going in and talking to digital marketing students in university, like the College of New Jersey in New Jersey. And they were kind of clueless about like what the industry is, how it is, the relationships, how it functions. So people think, okay, we jump into it and you're going to be a digital nomad, or you're going to make six figures starting out and propel your career. That doesn't necessarily actually work like that. And you really have to kind of be in the trenches and make your own path.
Yeah, you gotta dig deep sometimes, and you have to go through the mud. And I think every entrepreneur that has stuck with it has went through the mud. I went through the mud. You went through the mud, and sometimes it's not fun. But I had a question on my head that popped in, and then I popped out, and I popped back in. So you live in America now, correct?
Yep, I'm in New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey. How good do we have it over here compared to Ukraine?
Yeah, this is like, I don't want to like be insulting, but this is like soft. Even obviously with the whole lockdown and this whole pandemic, yes, people have experienced getting the disease, their loved ones getting it, and passing away or getting really sick. Those situations are crazy. But the whole lockdown component minus the minimal social interaction, if this was 20 years ago, I think like the suicide rate would be so much higher, and mental health would be a lot more kind of profound based on the communication opportunities we have. I mean, in Ukraine in the East, there's still a stalemate. There's kind of an open conflict with basically Russia. There's other situations that happened in Ukraine over time that Ukraine kind of got screwed over in one way or another. And it's just like you develop kind of that grit. So like coming here and you have that in the back of your mind, you know where you came from, a Soviet controlled country with KGB, religious persecution, people that actually spoke up, disappeared to Siberia, to work camps and stuff like that, standing in bread lines. So like there's a lot more harsh things in the world that people aren't aware of because they're not necessarily exposed to.
And Americans get mad because they have to stand 6 feet apart and put a mask on. Interesting. That's just crazy. It is true because we don't know. It's like we don't realize what we have in America. So I just want to get your perspective, and I think that's a fantastic perspective. So let's jump into the topic a lot of marketers struggle with, SEO. What do you see marketers doing that is hurting their SEO rankings?
Well, marketers and companies thinking that it's some kind of like there's some kind of magic bullet to bypass all the hard work and building the actual strategy over time to get you to a certain place. And then it's like, set it. I think a lot of people think it's like a set it and forget it, especially clients. And they're like, all right, well, you got us for, our desired goal in terms of the themes, topics, terms. We're generating traffic, they're equating to sales or leads. We're done, right? Well, that's not actually how it works. Like it's an ongoing process that if done right, there's a lot of work and a lot of moving pieces if you focus on all the components of SEO. So the on-site, the technical aspect and the off-site. So, on-site, yes, refreshes, things of that nature, metadata, and other things, the content strategy itself, internal linking, things of that nature. But then you have link acquisition and link building and relationship building that creates obviously value in terms of boosting the authority of the site. If it's if you get a follow link back, you get direct SEO juice, or no follow, which I still recommend, because you have the opportunity for referral traffic. And a lot of that is time consuming. Like there's PR components, there's, social media components if done right to benefit SEO. So there's so many moving parts and so many things within the ecosystem that didn't exist in 2008 when it was kind of like the Wild West when I got into it, where people were like just doing it to appease search engines. And I think people are still doing it to appease search engines in some situation when you're really needing to give the best value and the best experience for the end user that lands on your website.
So it's gotten a lot harder, obviously.
Yeah, and content changed over time as well. So just because you were writing, making sure you have keywords in the content, the focus changed. So now Google and other search engines have an AI component. It's more personalized. It's more localized. So things back in the day, where if you looked for something, random, let's say Nike sneakers, you would get whoever's ranking technically nationally or sometimes globally, obviously, country to country, the primary in terms of top search engine differs. But now you added a personalization component. You added a local component, more so improvement in local. So if you look for that specifically, you're probably going to get your closest, shoe outlets, things of that nature, local sites, different informational content. So it's important in terms of your strategy incorporating the intent. So navigational, transactional, informational, and casting a wider net and adding value. Because if you're still doing stuff like keyword stuffing or creating like a crap load of content just to cover all the themes that you think are showing, you're ranking for, you want to show up for, if it's not delivering value, your longevity on the first page, even if you get there, will be minimal, because Google wants to show the best experience on page one. So if you're doing that and you get to page one, eventually, if you're not giving anything of value through your content, one, it's 2021, you can get that elsewhere. But when people get to that page, they're not going to interact with that content or go to other content on your site. So the bounce rate is going to be extremely high. So the higher the bounce rate, Google's not going to want to show a page with something closer to, 100% bounce rate, because that correlates with people not getting the information they need. And they want to give the best search experience to a user, especially on the first page of the search engine results page.
So, okay. Now, you always hear people talk about the amount of text in a article. So video is very powerful. People love video. They go to a website to watch video. Would you say like putting a video with a brief synopsis of what that video is about, would that rank better than just a full long-term article?
I don't necessarily think so. Obviously, I think you should have some kind of element that maybe highlights the transcript of the actual, content and meat and bones of that video through some kind of element like a drop down or a flyout. So it's not like overbearing on the site, but creating a holistic experience for an end user. So whether that be content, imagery, if you want to put a soundbite, if you want to put a video, whatever tells that story and has somebody spend a longer time on that site. I mean, ultimately, text is text. If Google can see it as text, can crawl it, can see it, it's related to whatever that landing page is or whatever the type of page you're utilizing. If it's a, geo-specific page or something about your business or area of practice, then that's going to obviously be a better experience and ultimately favor you in terms of ranking. Okay.
So I'm going to switch gears because SEO, you could talk about SEO for hours upon hours. Everybody has different strategies, but there's a lot that goes into it. I by far still, when I look back, if I would have kept on putting out good content value from that point when I first started to now, I think that would be a much different, I'd be obviously in a better situation as far as my blog wise. Because one thing is I'm not a big writer. So that's, for me, that's a little bit tough, but I can see that Google wants you to have, good content out there and answering good questions and backlinking. And it's SEO is a time thing. It just takes time to reap the benefits. Correct?
Yeah, and it's not an on and off switch. So obviously you have a paid budget for maybe media buys, paid search, paid social, any other paid effort, any sponsorship or syndication deals, things of that nature, PR activities. Well, if you run out of the budget, that source of traffic disappears. With SEO, if you build it and nurture it, it's a constant stream of traffic, month over month, year over year. And not a lot of things will change kind of where you appear in search engines other than what you do to your site, what your competitors do to their site, algorithm changes, or search trends changing. So like if you have something seasonal and let's say that product category disappears, well, you're kind of screwed because there's not going to be any more traffic. Those four things impact where you show up in search engines. And if you're not doing anything and you're stagnant, obviously you have competitors and eventually they're doing SEO. They're putting content out in terms of a content strategy that's driven by, users and focusing in terms of optimization. And eventually, regardless if you're number one, if you stop doing things in terms of efforts on your campaign, they will overtake you over time.
Okay, so let's go to this. So starting out as a digital marketing can be extremely overwhelming for marketers, especially when they're starting out. So many moving parts, etc., shiny object syndrome. Give me three things that you would have someone that is brand new focus on primarily.
For SEO specifically?
No, for their overall business. Like
overall
for me
in terms of marketing or just business in general?
In general, for me personally, I would say if SEO is definitely important, but I would focus on A, B, and C. Like for instance, paid traffic. If they have a product, making sure they get paid traffic towards it. Because if you have a product and you don't send paid traffic to it, and you try to do just SEO, you're going to be waiting a good long time in most cases. Correct?
Yeah, you need to supplement it. So it's not like, I go to a client and you just have to do SEO. Right now, it's more of an integrated approach where it's like you're not necessarily doing everything and let's throw it against the wall, but understanding where your target audience spends the majority of their time or how you can reach them and doing so either through, free or paid methods that built on your core website. And eventually through all those efforts, you're driving traffic back to your website, which then the website is optimized and hopefully your SEO strategy leads to, top performing in terms of creating traffic that generates, users and sales over time.
Yeah, as far as like digital marketing, when I first started out, I was really focused on trying to, quote, beat the SEO monster. Oh, I'm going to figure this out. There's really no figuring it out in most cases, correct? Or do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not yes and no. So like there's around 200 to 300 ranking factors in terms of like what influences or impacts your position or performance within organic search. And a lot of those have been documented in terms of signals, and you can go through those and audit your site and see if you're doing something well or poorly and adapt to that. But certain things in terms of penalties, why a specific site gets penalized over another site. Obviously, there's algorithm refreshes and updates and things of that nature. And now a few years ago, RankBrain, which is the AI component, you can't necessarily basically create a strategy that like capitalizes or combats the AI component of their search engine, because the AI is trying to learn what information you're looking for in order to deliver the best personal experience. So it's more about personalization now, that which makes SEO a little harder because, a search engine is trying to appease each individual user and not like a group or a community in that sense.
Yeah. And I don't get me wrong. I am working on my site right now, but it's not my prime focus, because here's the deal. If you're a marketer, and you're starting out and you put all your money just towards paid advertising, eventually that is going to all your time and money towards just paid advertising. And you're not really focusing on building some type of an SEO strategy for your business. Once that money runs out, what do you have? At least if you do both, I think that you're going to be in a much better situation, especially with paid advertising. You have to do because paid advertising, you have to do split testing, try different ads, because some don't work, some do work. With SEO, I think it's a good balance. I guess you say balance. So for you personally, what do you focus on, as far as balance, the three things that you focus on in your like week throughout the throughout your regular daily week, like what do you focus on in your business?
And I mean, top level in terms of strategy creation and tactical planning, because I am involved heavily in that, checking and people management specifically, and then kind of knowledge sharing. It's, we talked about Clubhouse and things of that nature, just jumping in and really sharing what I know or what I've experienced, and not necessarily like what I've read in the book, but what I've actually seen with clients, or I've had numerous clients in a specific industry. How did that, work? How can it evolve? Strategies and tactics we've developed. So more so sharing knowledge or being open with that in terms of like positioning myself and my company as thought leaders and providing value in that way. For me personally, direct people management, and then actually being involved in strategy and tactical planning as well.
Okay. So we're going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to ask you two questions though. So first, because you've seen a lot of things happening online. What is the most overrated marketing avenue you see people using in your eyes? Most overrated?
I mean, I would say certain social things where it's like just to be on a platform for the sake of being on a platform, and just I'm not dissuading people to have, if their target audience isn't, let's say on Twitter, not to be on Twitter, but not push it to a certain extent where, something is in a proposal or a contract just simply to like buffer up what you're getting paid as an agency. So something like that, like content creation, for example. So ideally you want a unique content experience on each social channel, obviously dimensions for images, video dimensions, things of that nature are different. And the way that people interact with content is different. Now that's very time consuming. Now some people push, you should be on all 3, 4, 5 major platforms, and we're going to have a social media calendar and create content in terms of a cadence, 2 to 4 posts. Well, you're just inflating the price of the actual campaign. That doesn't mean that that's something that you need. I mean, my strategy, like if you're looking at social, have a core, platform. So if you're B2B, majority of your effort should be on LinkedIn, but I'm not dissuading you to put at least a brand presence, because SEO is also, overall online visibility and branding. You have branding keywords and non-branding keywords. So what I was saying, it's a different ecosystem now. All those components are tied in to kind of like who you are and where you're going. And like you said, if you're putting money just into paid, that's fine. Some people, white label products and push to Amazon or push to their e-commerce site and don't want to build a brand. But if you're creating products and you want to build a brand, that SEO strategy also, entails branding that will get brand visibility over time and now, so people can actually get some kind of value add and have social proof and develop trust for your brand, and then hopefully, obviously, buy your products.
I agree, especially spreading yourself too thin and trying to do every platform, which I've done in the past, and I do not do that anymore. Most underrated marketing strategy that people don't use and they should be using?
I would say short form content creation and testing on platforms that you normally wouldn't be on. So I knocked TikTok for a while because I couldn't necessarily implement it for clients or myself. And then let me try it because it has the stereotype of it's young kids, lip syncing or doing dances. But there's a lot of content creators in specific industries now. So one of my videos, I'm not going to say it went viral per se, but it took me 60 seconds to do. It got like 120,000 views. It took me another 60 seconds to edit. So 2 minutes of my time equated to, I think the watch time for that was like 100 hours of that 1 minute clip being watched. And if I didn't do it, I didn't test it, I would never get that additional visibility.
And what was real quick, what is your TikTok handle?
Everything. And that's another key. Like, don't make crazy names or variations of your brand or personal name differently on each platform. So like I have everything uniform. So it's my first and last name. If you Google that, all of my social platforms will come up in search.
Okay. So, and you had 120,000 views.
Yeah, it was like 6,000 likes I mean, that's one platform where like organic reach still isn't capped. So yeah, they did monetize it, but you have the opportunity to go viral on TikTok more so than any other platform. So like for TikTok, that's great. But like some people put something random on or something that's thought provoking or has like an emotional trigger and I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 million, views. And then, I think equated to that 120,000 views, I think it was like about 6,000 to 7,000 likes. And then I believe like 700 comments that I've like personally went through and responded to just to keep the conversation going. So like the metrics are there. It's just like, can you implement it or is it nice? I mean, it's great for visibility. Did it actually lead to business? No, but it actually led to other opportunities. People saw that video. I actually had a PR opportunity where a magazine saw that video and I had the opportunity for a 15-minute phone interview that then they turn into an article. So there's the indirect value of doing things like that as well.
I've got to watch that video. So at Roman Prokopchuk is your Twitter handle, not Twitter, TikTok handle. Okay. So do you use Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Clubhouse, and probably something YouTube and anything else. I believe anything that comes out, I try to get on there, be an early adapter, reverse engineer what's going on, how people engage with the platform, what the current demographic is, how I can utilize it for myself, my brand, clients to really deliver value and not just be on it. And let's hope we have some kind of thing where we're like influencers on the platform and start like going viral. It's more like, how can I add value and deliver the type of content that people are looking for and consuming on that platform?
So you like to dig deep into that stuff.
Yeah, I have a whole content strategy for Clubhouse after being on it for a week. So it's like there's so much potential, but it's like seeing what people are doing in that week and then like thoughtfully talking about it. And then like, we talked about the format of Clubhouse and then going in rooms where the conversation isn't just to kind of inflate your ego and have people see you on the stage or a moderator, but actually have thought-provoking conversations that bounce ideas off each other. If you don't agree with something, obviously share your viewpoint, but people are looking at things at different perspectives. So having a lot of people looking at the same problem, you can create a more effective path to a solution.
I love it. You are very intricate when it comes to this stuff. Not as intricate. I'm not nearly as intricate when it comes to that stuff. I got onto Clubhouse and I thought it was brilliant. And I honestly, the sound quality is amazing on that too. So definitely, if you guys don't have Clubhouse, check it out and check out Roman's Clubhouse as well. So make sure you guys check out the show notes on winwithfred.com. You'll be able to connect with Roman. His website, Nova Zora Digital.com, will be on there as well. You can ask any type of digital marketing questions. And also make sure you tune into the Digital Savage Experience podcast. I said that correctly, correct? Nova Zora Digital?
Correct.
Awesome. So now we're going to jump into the super hyper fast Q&A round. So are you ready for these questions? These questions have nothing to do with SEO or marketing. So let's see if you're ready. Okay.
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay. So what animal would be the cutest if scaled down to the size of a hamster?
I would say a lion.
I would say so. Yeah. Little kitty cat. What weird food combinations do you really enjoy?
I don't even know. I like, my wife hates it, but from like an Eastern European background, I like pickled herring. It's kind of salty. Sometimes it's in like a creamy mixture, but it's one of those things where it's like, I grew up with it and like, I'm accustomed to it. Or any like salted fish, like, that's really preserved. I think maybe it's an Eastern European thing.
So like, oh my gosh, anchovies?
Anchovies is like a weird thing because anchovies is not one of those things that Eastern Europe has. I think that's more of a Western Europe thing. I mean, you see it in like Greece, Italy, and Croatia and the Balkans. More so like mackerel and different other fish, like bigger fish, like a white fish.
Okay. What movie can you watch over and over without getting tired of?
There's so many, but I just like stopped watching. Let me see a good one. Braveheart.
Okay, fantastic movie. What is your cure for hiccups?
They just go away by themselves. I don't like address them. You know what I mean? I mean, back in the day, the whole thing was like somebody needs to scare them out of you. But I don't know. I mean, like a glass of water, maybe. I haven't gotten hiccups in a while to think of it.
I haven't either. If someone narrated your life, who would you want to be the narrator?
James Earl Jones.
Awesome. Okay, so one last final thought. One last shout out to the Freddie O Show fan that you can feel can have an impact on them today.
Just whatever you're doing in digital marketing or in life or in business, try it now and don't wait till tomorrow. Because one, if you're in digital marketing, if you wait, usually if you're an early adapter, you have the highest amount of traffic or traction. And then, coupled with traffic and actually the desired goals you're looking, if you wait on things and hope to test something and wait on it, it may not be applicable as, a strategy in the future. And if you're looking to start a digital marketing agency or any business, like now is the perfect time, regardless of the current climate. If you lost your job or you were furloughed or laid off, if you have something that's a passion maybe, or something that you've always had as a side hustle, go in on that. If you're good at that, make connections, network, and really kind of hone your craft.
Don't procrastinate. Just do it. Roman, you're a rock star, man. I really appreciate you being on the Freddie O Show today.
Thank you for having me on. I had fun.